So this is a monologue that Helen has near the beginning of the play. It's pretty brief, but I think when I look at it, it's just me, but it's me, like me trying to sound a little, like a tiny bit like Shakespeare, or just sort of just evoke that, where Helen has decided to, take her father's clothes and his tools and go heal the king, and she's kind of trying to she's trying to remember why she's doing it. I feel like Shakespeare characters will often do this thing where they will like sit and they will kind of it's almost like a prayer. Like they're addressing the audience, where it feels like when they're just speaking to the audience, it feels like they're trying to invoke something, like they're trying to steel themselves. It's sort of like they're trying to make contact with something kind of beyond them in a way that I think is really interesting. So this is her trying to do that when she's about to go on this journey. And she says, "A dead man's clothes will foul your luck, stained with life passed too early or too late. But when the clouds of heaven cottoned my father's eyes, so close to death he lay, he never feared its shadow. Nor did he cower beneath its gaze, even then it was a friend, an old partner, a hand he'd shook 100 times. When Lord Death arrived to take his soul from all that withered, he left with half a smile in his cheek, still as peace itself, without a quiver. His clothes I don as armor same to inspire in me his physician's strength. No, that I have and more, but to shelter as a star in the sky, as a brow within a hat, inside his doctorly patience, his golden faith, to light my way from this to that." And so that's right before she's goes to the king and is like, "I can heal you," and wants to use it as a boon in order to get what she wants. So this is a part where there's Shakespeare, and then so Bertram sends these letters to Helen and his mom that are like, "I'm married, but I'm not happy about it." And so in the original scene, it's just them reading the letters out loud and talking. And in this version, Bertram appears on stage and performs the letter. And then he has kind of his own little moment where he gets to kind of expound on it. And then I also added a little Romeo and Juliet in there because I thought that would be fun. So what Bertram says is, "I have sent you a daughter-in-law. She hath recovered the king and undone me. I have wedded her, not bedded her, and sworn to make the knot eternal. You shall hear I am run away. Know it before the report come. If there be breadth enough in the world, I will hold a long distance. My duty to you, your unfortunate son, Bertram. The knot eternal, but the knot's eternal, till death do part us and untangle this sorry mess. How could she bless such a journey? My own mother, her own ward, who she doth love as much as kin. I felt no jealousy, no grudge against this bond twixt Helen and my mother's happiness, as though she were a lost sibling raised from the dead. Was such love not enough? Why this childish houseplay? I am no doll. Perhaps I'd look to like if looking liking move. But no more deep will I endart mine eye than her consent gives strength to make it fly." So that's a little Bertram. And at the end, it's Juliet talking to the nurse about Paris, who she is also sentenced to marry. And I was like, that's just really interesting. The last 3 lines are from Juliet talking to her nurse after her parents have told her that she is betrothed to Paris. And she's like, "Well, I can't just look at someone and love them. If I could just do that, then it would, but that's not how it works." Which I thought was so interesting because I was like, that's such a... Romeo and Juliet is such a, it's our standard of romance or whatever in our culture. And I just thought it was really interesting because I was like, these are the same sentiments that he has, but Juliet is a heroine and Bertram is a villain. And I was just like, but they're saying the same thing. I think he is doing it in a crueler way, certainly. But they are really, they want to marry who they want to marry. Or one of them wants to chase skirts and one of them wants to get married to Romeo. They want to do what they want to do. So there is a project that I am working on, which is a play about. The play is called Palaces, and it is about a world in which there are gods. There are just many gods who govern our daily existence, and they do something that breaks heaven or breaks where they live, and they have to come to Earth. And in trying to find a place to live, they end up making deals with fat people to live in their bodies because the space is bigger and more luxurious and roomier. And so it is about these three people who have made this deal, and in the deal you get a wish. And the three of them are trying to figure out what to wish for because they are people who are like, well, if I had one wish, I'd wish to be thinner. But you can't do that. It's, or else there's nowhere for them to live. And so it's about them trying to figure out what to wish for while navigating this relationship with these new roommates who live in their body. And so I don't know, it is a really big passion of mine to have more people of more fat people, more people of different sizes on stage. It's just been really interesting to write and to be what would it be like to have someone so intimately connected with you, and then in the play they begin being treated differently by other people. And then I think to also adjust to that, to be what happens when your sort of societal status changes. But you've not changed. I think it just feels important to talk about. And so that was something I'm thinking about too, is when your acceptability in the world, when that changes, but you haven't actually changed at all. It's just literally maybe the amount of physical space you take in the world has changed. But what does that mean for us, that we place such a high value on that? I always get really in my head about how long something is, which sounds silly, but in playwriting and theater, you really have to turn off the part of your brain that's about people wanting to produce it, where it's I don't know. I mean, I would be curious to talk to the other residents who are in the fiction and nonfiction and poetry world, where it's are you ever worried about your novel being too long? Because playwrights are always thinking about how long their play is. Theaters want it to be 90 minutes, right? And it needs to have not that many people in it so that it's more, it's easier to produce, right? It costs less. But it's really hard to write with those kinds of parameters when you're oh, I want to write this big epic, or I want to have so many people, or I want to have this character, but I don't want to have them double or anything like that. And so there's a lot of logistics. And so I think if you're really good and smart, you're able to turn off that part of your brain and just write. But I think in the middle, I'm always oh no, there's 6 people in this play. Is there a way I can cut it down? Or we're already at this many pages, but I know I have this more I want to say. Do I need to dilute that in some way? I think and what it ends up being is you just are okay, I'm just gonna write it, and because that's the work you do later in revisions, just like everybody, you just have to get it done.